What is your small town dark secret story? Story 1. Oh, I have a doozy. Short version. Popular kids in high school run a secret towel fight club and accidentally unalive one of their friends in the house of a local politician, who proceeds to bury the story. Towel fight club? Tape towels over your hands and beat each other up. It's supposed to be just boxing, but it sounds like they got out of control and hardly could call it that. Story 2. We have a vineyard hill next to our village, and on that hill, there's a big wooden cross. Lots of people go there to drink, have a walk, or with their dogs, but almost nobody knows why the cross is there. During the war, a vineyard keeper lived there with his son. His son was recruited and the man was left alone. When the war ended, his son survived and wanted to prank his dad by sneaking on him at night. But the vineyard keeper saw him and thought he was a robber. So he grabbed his rifle and shot the robber. When he found out it was his son, it broke his heart. He dug a grave on top of the hill for his son and erected a big wooden cross next to the grave. When he was done, he lay next to his son and shot himself. From that day, no one worked on the vineyards, and there's a big wooden cross on top of the hill. Now you can't even recognize there's a grave. Story 3. The town I was raised in wasn't exactly small. But here's the one dark secret I know. My hometown was where lots and lots of sports players had their mansions. And so, of course, their wives and children were out and about in the community a lot. Every single sports player wife in the town was heavily addicted to opioids. Every single one. Opioid addiction is obviously an epidemic all over the country, but among the rich wives in the town, it had a 100% infection rate, so to speak. I know because one of my friend's mom was the hairdresser for basically every single one of those wives. I was homeless my senior year of high school, and one of the sports player wives heard about me from her, and she gifted me an iPhone. That phone was cheap to her. But I still wish I had expressed my thanks more because that wife passed away from an overdose not long after. Sorry if that wasn't much of a dark secret, but yeah. Story 4. There is a half-submerged submarine from the war in the bay where I live. You can walk out to it when the tide is out. In the late 80s, somebody cut open the hatch, one of the only visible parts left sticking out of the sand, climbed in and was having a look inside. The tide came in and he drowned. If I remember rightly, the whole hatch was filled with cement, then welded shut to stop it happening again. Story 5. This is a sad one for me. There was an older couple here who ran a halfway house for troubled kids, who had recently gotten out of juvie. They fostered a few as well. They were loved in the community and wonderful people. One of them had an older brother who was a criminal in the nearest big city. During a visit, he snuck his 15-year-old younger bro a handgun. Younger bro ended up holding up a local gas station and unalived 3 people. One of them was my friend's cousin. The foster parents lost whatever credentials they needed to do what they did. The kids went back into the system, and the giant house has been abandoned since around 2009. Story 6. About 10 years ago, a lot of homeless people disappeared, and when the police did the investigation, they found out a guy was taking and eating those people. Police found his hideout and found a half-eaten body and bones from another person. People don't like to talk about it, but everyone knows what happened. Story 7. 15 years ago, the local district attorney called his longtime girlfriend and told her he was taking the day off from work and that he loved her. He parked his car in town and went for a stroll past the local shops. He hasn't been seen since. His car was found where he had parked it the next day. He had left his cell phone in the car, but his keys and wallet were missing. Later that year, his laptop and its hard drive were found under a bridge at a nearby river. The hard drive was eventually discovered by a local woman walking along the bank of the river, but it was too damaged to recover any data from. Interestingly, investigators discovered that someone had done a search on his home computer for how to wreck a hard drive. Did he jump from a local bridge? Did he encounter someone who he had prosecuted who did him harm? Or did he escape his life to start a new one? Story 8. This is more comical than dark. A house burned down in this small town of 600 population, 1 block from the fire station. It, being a volunteer fire department, nobody was at the station. They tried to get the pumper truck out, but one of the volunteers had run it into a brick building the week before, and it was still at the shop. We're still undecided whether the house owner burned it down for the insurance. Strange that there was nothing valuable inside. Story 9. A freshman with Asperger's was being mistreated by his family at home. He was a problem child and got in trouble on purpose, but no one went too hard on him because of his home life. He was a well-loved kid at school and in the community. One day just before the holiday break in December, he was really sick, but his mom sent him to school anyway. Locked him out of the house. He decided to try and get into one of the empty houses down the street, through the chimney. Now this kid was the size of a 2nd grader, but he was too big to fit through, since chimneys taper down thinner. Mom never answered her phone when the school reported him missing. Went a whole day without reporting her kid missing. No one knew what happened to him. It was about a month and a half before we knew what happened to him. We all thought he ran away, was alive somewhere. Maybe went to his sister's house. Nope, passed away in a chimney. The schools organized an entire week of counseling and such. They wore pink for a day and hung little pink ribbons on pins for him since his favorite color was pink. Everyone was hit really hard by it. That's how our small town started 2020. It hasn't gotten any better, as you can see. So weird that it's almost been a year now. Story 10. I don't know if it's considered a dark secret, but in the county I lived in from ages 10 to 18, we had a soldier pass away under some extremely questionable circumstances. They said he was high/drunk/experiencing mental distress and raided a nursery, the plant kind. They claimed he was attacked by wasps and ran. He called 911 several times and claimed that someone was chasing him and was trying to take him. In the last 911 call, he said everything was fine suddenly. Just 14 to 15 minutes later, he was struck by a woman who stopped and called 911. He was run over 2 more times and passed away. The autopsy showed no signs of bee or wasp stings. The connection to the nursery is due to the fact that it was just up the road from where he passed away. The place was ransacked, pizza eaten, and money taken, but his wallet and phone were sitting on the counter undisturbed. However, the family was not okay with that explanation, especially because he had previously texted that there were some problems with the local boys, since the soldier wasn't from this part of the state. So the family had a private investigator look into it. They analyzed the 911 recordings and found several instances of other people talking in the background, though most of it couldn't be made out except one. In the 911 call where he told the operator that everything was fine, a male voice could be heard saying, "Tell her." In the nursery, there was no DNA, no fingerprints, no footprints that led back to the soldier, even though his phone and wallet were there in the building. A lot of people, his family included, think he was unalived by some of the local guys there after they got into a fight about something. They chased him down and caught him. He was able to run again after the final 911 call and was hit by a driver while trying to get help. And the police in the county covered the entire thing up because the boys involved were connected to the department somehow. Over the 3 drivers, none were charged for hitting/running over him. I think only the first driver stopped, but it was discovered that one of the other drivers was connected to the department either through family or friendship. It is a crazy story, but you can look it up. Just search Austin McGough. I wouldn't be too surprised, since there is a lot of shady stuff happening in small-town police departments, including covering up crimes that officers commit. I really hope his family gets him justice. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate the bell button to receive notifications to my latest videos.